Welcome to Phonogenics 101, a Riotboy production hosted by Jeremy Gloff. The podcast where people who love music discuss albums track by track. Please hit subscribe, and if you'd like to support this podcast, patreon.com/Jeremy Gloff or Venmo @Jeremy Gloff. And now, on to the music. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Phonogenics 101. I'm Jeremy Gloff here, your host from Tampa, Florida. And this is the podcast where we take an artist's discography, and every month we talk about one album, song by song. So we're covering everything from Gliding Bird through what's Emmylou's most recent, the Rodney Crowell second duet album, correct?
Yeah.
All right.
Actually, the Nash Ramblers one is more recent, isn't it? The second live album?
Oh, that is true. Yeah. All right. Well, today we are in 1982. It was a year when country was really going commercial. Dolly was all in Hollywood. Linda's going new wave with Get Closer around that time. England, the British invasion with all the synth bands, Duran Duran. We were 1 year away from Madonna's first album. So what happens to somebody like Emmylou? Her last two albums had been kind of cobbled together from songs that were used from other sessions with some new recorded tracks. But Last Date, the album that we're talking about today, was kind of Emmylou's response to everything that was happening. And just before this podcast, I realized what a strong artistic statement this was. Because when you look on paper, like two albums of outtakes, then a live album, you might think that it was kind of like a holding pattern for an artist, but not with Last Date. This is an album where Emmylou wanted to turn her hot band into the greatest country cover band of all time, hit the honky tonks of California, and record an album capturing the spirit of pure country during a time when everyone else was going commercial. So it was a really bold statement. Listening to the album, this is her first album where you really hear her new voice, because the last album had a lot of kind of old tracks on it. But this is the first time that was all new material since Roses in the Snow, right?
Yes.
All right. So Last Date, it was released in the early 2000s on her Eminent record label, did a CD reissue, which Toddy and I both agree the remastering is superb on it. It has a nice slipcase, some nice notes. And then, of course, I have my vinyl from the Record Store Day box set of like the 1980.
I got mine from 1982.
You have the original. So,
Yeah.
All right, I've rambled enough. Richard, thanks to my Patreon and all the subscribers, all that stuff.
I got the tour cap.
Oh my goodness!
Oh, wow!
And I got the reel to reel tour sweater.
All right.
And here is actually the tour poster for the tour.
Oh, and it has the logo on it. So cool.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Yes. Okay, Richard, go.
Yeah. So, Richard, you're an Emmylou fan. You saw her some early shows. Do you remember this album coming out, and what did you think of it at the time?
I love this album at the time, and I love it now. When I listened to this again this week, I just was blown away by how great this version of the Hot Band sounds. And the Hot Band is the original Hot Band with James Burton or even with Albert Lee. That's a hard act to follow, I think.
Right.
And these guys really, really do it. The thing I was really impressed with, of course, by this time, I mean, I had all the Graham Parsons and Flying Burrito Brothers and all that stuff, and there are like 1, 2, 3, 4 Parsons and or Burrito Brothers tunes on this, including the duet that Emmylou did with him on GP, We'll Sweep Out the Ashes in the Morning. So I mean, I loved I love the Parsons and Burrito stuff, and so she revisited them on here, but it's not like a rehash. So I mean, I really did like this album a lot. When when it came out and when I listened to it again. And I can tell I really listened to it a lot when it came out because it's not quite as clean as some of my other vinyl copies. So I know I played the hell out of it back in the 80s. So.
Now, what a daring thing for an artist to do is to take all tracks that she hasn't recorded before and do a new album, but do it live. And okay, well, Tadia, when you started scrounging through the Emmylou discography, I guess exploring is a better word, in the 90s, what
Yeah.
was your first impressions of Last Date?
So Last Date was an album I couldn't find. There were two albums I could not find of Emmylou. I remember I was writing to her fan club. My mother actually wrote to them. And we got a list back of her albums that was released. And I remember marking that one and an album called 13 that came later. And I went to the record store, local record store, and I asked for it. They could find it in the catalog. They were not, they couldn't order it because LPs wasn't produced at the time.
Right.
So I couldn't find it. It took me like 3 years before I could find it. And actually, the guy that showed up with it was a friend of my father who was collecting LPs, and he had it all the time. So he said, I have some country music albums, and I love Emmylou Harris. You can come and look one day. And I was a kid, and I went down to his cellar and found Last Date.
Wow.
And I mean, still to this day, it's one of my favorite Emmylou Harris albums. I dare to say, I mean, like, I love all her live albums, but I would say that this is probably my favorite Emmylou Harris live album. And this was recorded of her idea of what country music should sound like. And all the way back from 75, the Hot Band had been known around music listeners in Nashville in California for its great. They were a very well-known band because they were so good at playing live. They were so good that she could actually use them in the studio as well. This is the third ensemble of the Hot Band that's used on this live recording here. And like you said, Jeff, they were like playing a lot of honky tonks during the West Coast. And they recorded a lot of shows. Brian Hearn would put up his in an Actron truck to the venue, and they would record. And of course, they actually recorded a double album. Warner Brothers did not want to release a double album, so they picked out the songs that had not been released before. Actually, the new cuts. She also recorded a whole album that was songs from her own hits that was supposed to be on the second LP for this album. Didn't get released, but they did release the songs that had not been recorded before. And I mean, the sound of it, the album, the live sound is so fresh and electrifying that it sounds like it could have been recorded today.
Yeah, there's only one original Hot Band member left on this. That's the drummer, John Ware.
John Ware was the longest playing Hot Band member, yeah. But
all the others are they're great.
All of them are great, and this version of the Hot Band is also great. I mean, you can hear that she is enjoying it.
Mm-hmm.
Only thing I do miss a little bit on this album is that you hear Emmylou is a girl that usually talks between the songs. They have cut that out from here. They only like to skip it, and they hear the crowd cheering, and then goes to the next cut.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, there's not one song that I don't like on this album. I like all the songs, and they're great. All the covers are great. I mean, here are Merle Haggard, there are Floyd Kramer here, there are Graham Parsons songs here, there are Hank Snow songs here, there are Bruce Springsteen songs here. She has everything, and everything she does sounds like hers.
Yeah.
Neil Young too.
And that is a cool thing, because if you look at my CD here, look at it.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
She says, I brought all of her live albums to one show, and she picked up Last Date, and she said, "Oh, I love that one." And she said, "Long may you run, Teddy," and she wrote it down here.
So Emmylou looks back fondly on this one. This is one she still is proud of.
She talks about it in interviews still, and but it was a much a sought after album for a while. It had been out of print for many years when it was re-released in 2000. And luckily now we have the box set where they really re-released the LPs, well, because LPs are popular again. Yay.
Right.
But to all the fans that really enjoys that album, get this CD. You will find it on Amazon and eBay for a okay price. It is worth every penny. This is my third version of the CD.
Is that the Eminent one or the
That's the Eminent one, yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
because Rhino re-released it too, but I don't know what that's like.
Not on CD.
Yeah, it did at one point. Rhino Encore.
Then it must have been the same version as this one.
Yeah, they didn't have the bonus tracks that are on that one though.
Or the slipcase, probably, because they had a nice
slipcase. Yeah.
Slipcase. It's a nice write up in here, and there's a lot of information about the album. You know, it's
yeah.
You see the CD with Emmylou on.
Yeah.
A lot of photos in here, and all the band members are taking their
I wish
turn.
I had that one.
You need to get it, Richard. You missed
I
out.
will.
Well,
I will.
Anyway, it's my favorite one of my favorite country albums by Emmylou. I like it more than many of our albums. You know, I like all our albums. There's no one I don't like. But this album, I have played it so much. And I like the opening of it, you know, when you hear like Phil Kaufman, the road manager, say, "Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, cowboys and Indians." The hot band, and that's the way he introduced her all the way up to Spy Boy, you know.
Now,
yeah, you can hear the crowd sharing, and the hot band on fire on the first song there.
It's cool because a lot of times an audience isn't always receptive to new music, but it seems like the audience here was just soaking it right in love with this material.
And the way that, as always, you know, Emmy is known for being a perfectionist. And that comes around here it's very obvious, because when you hear they playing these are songs that they had like rehearsed only for this tour. It sounds like they have been playing them forever. It sounds like, you know, it doesn't sound like this is a brand new song they never played before.
Right.
It's so technically perfect that it's, you know.
It's road tested.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, wouldn't you all agree that this set of songs, first of all, they all hang together. It definitely seems like a body of work, even though it's such a variety of songs. And number two, I can't imagine these songs being in studio versions. I feel like they had to live in these live versions for this to work. I feel like a studio album of these songs wouldn't have the magic that these live ones do. What do you guys think about that?
I agree with you. I think this is country rock. I mean, like her idea of country honky tonk. Yeah, well, I think this is country rock, you know.
Well, you know, the kind of Bakersfield West Coast country sound is really a lot more rocking than the Nashville kind of sound.
Yeah.
So I think, you know, if she's playing, I mean, she starts out with Hank Snow and moves on to Merle Haggard and then to the Everly Brothers, you know. But I think it sounds, to me, it sounds like country, only kind of California country rather than Nashville kind of country.
Now, this was a hit album for her, right? It had 2 singles on the top 10 country. A number one single with the title track. Was this her last number one on the country chart as a solo artist?
Yes.
Okay.
I think so.
So it was a big album at the time, rightfully so.
Big album. It was a tour that was talked a lot about, you know. She had friends coming out for this tour, listening to her. It says like, what did it say here? They said that who was coming out? Linda Ronstadt was with her in the audience, coming out looking, you know, when she was playing those gigs, and Don Henley as well, you know. So there were people that they talked about that this was going to be something great, you know. So people would come out and listen to them. Would
you guys agree that this is the first full Emmylou album where you really kind of get to hear her new voice throughout the whole album? Because, you know, we heard some new songs on Cimarron, but there were some old ones too, so you didn't really get the impact of how her voice had changed. But when you listen to this set of songs straight through.
Can you describe what you're calling her new voice?
Well, I
'Cause
feel like she's a little bit raspier. Her vibrato kind of changed. I feel like her styles. I feel like you can hear the first tinges of what you'd hear on Wrecking Ball a decade later, in some of her singing here. But maybe I'm crazy. What do you guys think?
Yes, it is. Her voice had changed. Obviously, Emmy had never taken time off the road, only when she was having her baby. So of course her voice had started to change a little bit from playing all those days and getting more mature, and the baby voice was gone.
ah,
But it's still crystal clear and as good as ever here,
Sure. Oh yeah.
and and again, just goes to show that Emmylou Harris can sing as good live as she can in the studio. There's no doubt.
that's why I asked, because I don't detect the kind of breathiness that you get from Wrecking Ball on forward
Okay.
in her older voice, like
There
10
is a
years after
difference
this.
there. There
But
is there is a little bit of difference here. You can hear it, but probably from singing in the studio as well. You singing a little bit more. You don't have to push as much.
right.
Right.
But when you're on stage with an electric band, and the hot band was loud, I know they were.
Oh
Uh,
yeah.
she probably didn't. She didn't use her whisper voice, and they didn't have ear-in feedback back then. The monitor
Right.
was right in front of you. So if the audience got loud, you have to sing louder. So yeah, she was probably pushing her voice a little bit more than she would have done on the previous projects. But the good thing about this album, I think, is interesting, is that anyone who was doubting when she was releasing Evangeline that country music was gone from her repertoire, she was back here.
Oh, she was back. Yep. And I think that little bit of edge on her voice lent to the how authentic of an album it was. I kind of feel like to me when I hear a Stevie Nicks song, I can tell the 70s, 80s, 90s, and 2000s Stevie voice. I feel like Emmylou kind of has her 70s voice, her 80s voice, and then her 90s voice. Like to me, they're kind of three,
Totally.
not huge differently, but I can tell the difference a little bit.
Totally. I mean, if you had hear her sing, if you hear the live versions of her older hits when she was singing later in the 90s with the Spy Boy, and she would do, Together Again and those songs, sounds
Mhm.
like a different artist.
Sounds like,
A different artist.
oh yeah.
Doesn't sound like her, but I wouldn't change any of it.
No, I wouldn't either. I love when people age and evolve. So
Yeah.
this is all
I,
good stuff.
I
Yeah.
guess since I was kind of aging along with Emmylou here, I mean, since I, was first saw her probably in late '73 when the hot band was when the Angel Band was brand new, through records and concerts and stuff. I guess I did. I guess maybe her voice kind of grew with my perception, so I'm not noticing the difference as much as you all are, since it
Yeah.
seemed to just kind of go that way. But I don't know.
You
Now,
got the gray hair at the same time.
Yeah.
what do you guys think of the cover of the album? I love the logo. I feel like it's kind of retro for the time. It really, a nice picture of her on the front.
And the neon lights.
Yep.
She looks
Yeah.
ecstatic. She looks like she's really enjoying herself here on the cover, I think.
Playing that big jumbo
I know.
guitar,
And now I started to gravitate towards smaller guitars, but she's got that she's always got those big guitars.
Yep.
Even
Mm.
now.
Yeah. And they're heavy,
Yeah.
but they have a great sound. The Gibson J200 has a great sound for strumming.
She
Alright.
used to play Martins a long time back. Now she went to move to Gibsons though.
Because someone gave her a Gibson, and it sort of like became her guitar. She liked it.
Yeah.
It was a gift for her. She didn't get it herself.
So no turning back, right?
Mhm.
All right.
But yeah,
Well, let's
go
go
on.
into the track by track discussion. The album
Yeah.
opens, of course, with Tadia mentioned, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, cowboys and Indians. What a great way to start it off. And right into the first track, I'm moving on. And Emmylou just rips her way right through this song. I mean, can you imagine being in that audience? What do you guys think of this opening track?
It's a great opening track, and it was also a hit for Hank Snow, who wrote it. Canadian country singer who was big in the
Yeah.
50s and the 60s, I guess. At least the 50s. He was singing with Anita Carter, and he was a big name. And I think he had a big number with this song. And
Oh yeah, it was a big hit.
yeah, I do prefer Emmy's version, but that's unfair because I'm an Emmy fan. But I mean, this version is really, really cool with the fiddle opening up there, and it's really feeling you want to stomp your feet and yodel.
Yeah.
It's really
This is
cool.
one of the songs that Roseanne Cash did on The List, her album The List, which was all the country songs that her father told her were essential.
Oh,
Yeah.
That's
But
correct.
her version is way different, and I have to say I prefer Emmylou's adheres a lot closer to the classic way the song sounds. Roseanne has this kind of swing version of it, I think.
I wouldn't, if I was Roseanne, I would never dare to try to copy an Emmylou Harris version.
Right, right. Well,
People
she
start
always
to compare.
she looked up to Emmylou as a singer for sure. In fact, on that video, the Country Music Hall of Fame with Jeffrey Himes and Rodney Crowell that I sent you all, Rodney says, Emmylou was her idol when she was young. So when she was
But
first putting
they
out
were
her
good
album,
friends and they were sisters-in-law for a while as well. So
yeah.
all right. And a lot of this album to me is kind of a vibe. Like some of the songs I don't have a ton to say about because it's just good from beginning to end. It's such to me this is such a full album experience. Sometimes more than song by song for other albums, but I still love them. Any other thoughts on I'm moving on?
Well, it does kind of announce the direction that she's taken. She's moving on to this kind of honky tonk song
Right.
sound here, moving away from maybe some of the slicker studio productions to a live, cowboys and Indians. Come
Yeah,
on, let's listen.
you got it right. All right. So the second song, it's not love, but it's not bad. I think it's such
God,
a perfect second song for the album.
I love that
Old Merle
song.
Haggard did this one.
Merle Haggard song, yeah, and she has done a lot of Merle Haggard through the years. But she is obviously a big Merle Haggard fan. But it's not love, but it's not bad. It's one of it's one of the songs, one of the cuts that you don't hear anywhere often, is it?
No.
But it's really a good song, and it's a fun song. I wish you would still doing it today. I like that song. It fits the album, and I play it a lot.
I played a lot
It's
too.
kind of a funny song,
Mhm. It's actually a Hank Cochran song
Yeah.
who wrote "I Fall to Pieces" for Patsy Cline. Songs like this. Yeah, great country number. It fits the album. Should have been a hit in my. Yeah, I think it should have been a hit, but it wasn't. But it's a great song.
I think it's
And
interesting that the label only released like 2 or 3 singles from some of these albums. They could have had more hits, I feel like.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. I feel like they could have pushed it a little bit more. And this was. She recorded only one more album after this album, studio album with Brian Ahern. Who
Right.
was her at the time. So this was like she was rounding up. Winding up with this one.
The end of an era.
Yeah, and I'm near.
Almost.
I mean, the hot band is not disappointing here. It is a little bit different from the other version of the hot band, but I mean, I cannot say it was better or worse because they are really hot on this album.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, Barry Tashin, who's does most of the duet vocals with her on here, he went back. He was a pal of Graham's way back in the day, so it's kind of.
He
I
played in
mean,
a band called Barry and the Remains.
yep, Barry and the Remains, and he also played actually in the competing band that was the Flying Burrito Brothers before Graham stole their name.
Hmm?
So there, it's kind of a yeah. And he plays with his wife Holly too, right?
Yeah.
Barry and
Oh, they
Holly.
played
Yeah,
for years.
yeah,
The son is now a great producer.
yeah.
Yeah.
So it's
No,
really cool.
yeah. Sorry.
It's cool that she had him on the album as her duet partner, like the symbolism behind it.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we have another song with parentheses in the title. I just think it's cool when like things like that happen. So sad to watch good love gone bad or go
Go
bad.
back.
Was a
Yep.
hit. That was a hit for her.
Everly Brothers.
Yeah, and she's done Everly Brothers songs on all her albums, live albums. I mean, she did it here. She came out with the Nash Ramblers. She did like Strangers, and then again, another hit on Spy Boy, Love Hurts. They didn't write that one, but it's sort of their song anyway.
Police and Boudleaux Bryant wrote that one, but Don Everly did write "So Sad to Watch Good Love Go Bad."
We did, and they recorded together on Blue Kentucky Girl as well, so they were friends. But so sad.
I hadn't. It's not that well known. It's not that famous as Everly Brothers songs go. So I think that when she did that, she called attention to that song for me when I was when I went back to explore the Everly Brothers again for a while. I came across this and said, "Oh yeah, I remember that from Emmylou."
I did make a mistake.
So sad.
Huh? Go ahead, Tadia. I'll jump in after.
So sad was a top 30 in the summer of '83 actually for Emmylou. It was the last single.
Yep, that's what I was gonna say. Is I made a mistake. There are actually 3 charting top 40 country singles from this album. So we have "Lost His Love on Our Last Date" was a number 1. "I'm Moving On" was a number 5, and then this one went to 28. So three hits from the album.
Yep.
She kills it on this song. Her vocal is so expressive on this song.
So sore. And the opening with the guitar and the mandolin is beautiful.
Yep.
It's one of the ballads, that I was surprised. I remember when I first heard that song, when I got the LP from my father's friend, and listening to that song, I remember playing that song over and over and over. It just like it got better the more I listened to it, and it's still one of my favorite songs of hers. She did play that song in her shows for quite a while after as well. Yeah. So it's probably a song that she liked very much.
And for this podcast, I'm not even gonna do the thumbs up and down because I think we're just gonna like every song.
Yeah.
All right, so next, "Return of the Grievous Angel." So,
hell yeah!
Oh, I know. The first time I heard this album, the song just jumped right out for me, and like, what great lyrics!
I mean, this version. I mean, she did this song justice. The version she had with Graham Parsons was like this kind of like slow country song, but here it explodes.
Yeah.
I mean, like, it really, really turns up the gear here in the second gear for this song here. I like this version better than the original one. And that is like swearing in church. I know, Richard.
I agree.
I love there's actually 2 versions of her doing it with Graham Parsons, because one of the outtakes she does a different kind of harmony on it on one of the outtakes from the Parsons sessions. But she also did this. Song with there's a way earlier live version of this song. I think it's on a bootleg.
On a bootleg, yeah. She did play this song. She had played this song in her shows all the way back from '74 up till this. She just didn't record it, or maybe she has recorded without releasing it. I don't know. But she would put Graham Parsons songs in her shows, that she didn't record or would record later. And this is one of the songs. I'm glad that she didn't do. I think that, it's smart to not do a new studio version of a song you already done in the studio. It's great to put it on a live album because it has and it does it justice because, it's not the same. You don't compare it to the other one that much.
It's a great song too, though. I mean, it's a wonderful song in and of itself.
The song's about being on the road, so I feel like a live version is so not to sound stupid, but Grievous Angel, that's the name of the truck, right? Like, is that what the song's about?
I think it's a person.
Oh, it's a person? Okay.
Yeah. It's a man he met in the third verse. He says, all the news I could bring. I met up with the king on his head an amphetamine crown.
Okay.
Talked about unbuckling that old Bible belt and headed out for some desert town. He's traveling and meeting people, I think.
Okay.
Out
This
with the
song was
truckers.
this song was given to Graham Parsons, and he was supposed to record it, and so they had lost the melody to it, so he only had the words, and they couldn't remember it, but he kind of like had an
Oh,
idea of
what
how
I heard
what
was that it was a Boston poet named Thomas Brown who gave him the lyrics, and then he set it to music. That's the version
oh
I heard.
okay
Because I think
well
initially they didn't credit the guy who wrote the lyrics, and then they went back and credited him.
that could be but anyway Graham wrote the melody to it at least,
Yeah.
and it's a Graham Parsons classic, which is the one we hear more often. It's the Graham Parsons version, and with her doing the harmonies, but here she's taking lead.
Yeah, and she's really it's a great version.
And I feel like it's such a strong version that unless you did some research, you might not even know that another totally different version exists. Like if you just picked up this album, it's she takes such ownership of the song, and
Should have been a hit.
yeah, should have
Yeah,
been a
I
hit.
don't know because I bought Grievous Angel before Emmylou had put out her first Warner Brothers record, so I've been living with this song
Right,
for a long time, and I bought it because Emmylou was on the record. I'd been seeing her in the clubs, and I went into the record store and looked at it, flipped it over, it said with Emmylou Harris. I said, "Oh, I'm going to buy this," without even having heard it. So. I've lived with this song, since 1974, which is when Grievous Angel came out.
do you remember the first time you heard Last Date and heard this version? How it sat with you?
I loved it. I mean, I love it when she does Graham Parsons songs. I mean, when she did Sin City and
Right,
Wheels and all those other, Parsons Hillman songs that she did on Elite Hotel and Luxury Liner. That's a Graham Parsons song.
right.
So
And speaking of
I,
Elite Hotel, like that live sound kind of recalled how side two had those live tracks on it. So I feel like it kind of captured that spirit a little bit with this album.
yeah.
All right. Well, any other thoughts on Return of Grievous Angel?
Great song.
Yeah, classic version.
Yeah, I've seen her play it a couple of times live, and it's always a song that the crowd knows.
Mm. All right. Well, next is Restless. What do you guys think of this one?
This is a cool one. This is like I get the feeling of the kind of the luxury liner feeling
Yep,
of it.
that's what I thought too.
It's you can hear the guitar. Emmylou always had great guitarists in her band. There's no doubt. She always had a lead guitarist that could show off, when he wanted to.
No
And
kidding.
Frank Richard Frank Richard was he was no less, he could really play, and he played with her all the way up to '89 when the hot band dissolved. But on
I'll
this
say,
song,
how do you follow James Burton and Albert Lee? Well, he holds his own against them. Well, I would say.
name come on, and listening to the song, how it goes after the instrumental, and it starts modulating and it shifts, and you hear the crowd roaring in the background. He just goes on and on and on and
Yep.
on and on. The band is tight here, the drums are like on fire. So this is a Carl Perkins song, isn't it?
Yeah, and I don't know if I've ever heard Carl Perkins's version of this. Have you?
I'm not sure if I do,
I'm
but
going to look it up after the podcast.
Yeah, drop it in
yeah,
the chat.
Yeah.
it better be good.
I don't know. I don't know how anybody can outdo Emmylou on this one.
Yeah.
I mean, and that song has also been a song that she put in her shows through the whole '80s with the hot band. She played it all the way up till they stopped playing together. Restless was a showstopper in her shows.
Mm-hmm.
That's her liner. It has the same. She tends to put those songs in her albums, the songs that has that fast beat.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
She would do the same letter, with 13 with Mystery Train. It's this beat. It really goes fast.
Yeah. All right. Well, now Bruce Springsteen shows up again.
On to the boss.
On to the Boss. He was on the last album. This time she did Racing in the Street.
Such a sensitive song,
Yep.
and her voice here is crystal clear. And Emmylou, she has always been a great, like we said earlier, promoter of Bruce Springsteen. You know, she loves his material, and who doesn't? I love his material more than I love him, but it just goes to show that he's a great songwriter. Great songwriter.
Well, I'm
And
a fan of him as a performer and a songwriter and a singer, but you know, he was a particular darling of the radio station in Bethesda, WHFS FM,
oh,
who were also like big fans of Emmylou, and the other group was Little Feat, all that stuff in 70, 73, 74, 75. I mean, you can the local radio station that is playing the Boss. He played at the Child Herald where Emmylou played before he was, you know, that well known. So I think they were kind of traveling in the same circle of influences, like 74, 75, when I was like 19 and 20 years old and really paying attention to the radio and going to see tons of shows because I was young, you know. So
this song, I just looked on Wikipedia. It's from Darkness on the Edge of Town, End Side 1. And it's interesting because, you know, Emmylou's mission statement with this album was, "This is what I feel country music is." So essentially she's saying Bruce Springsteen is on the level of all these other country greats, of Graham Parsons, of Merle Haggard, with his storytelling. And, you know, the performance itself says that she was absolutely right. This song is just as powerful as the other songs on the album, and its storytelling and the loss and longing inside the song. It's not my favorite song on the album. I'm not a huge Bruce Springsteen fan, but I think it hangs with all the other material.
again, her vocal is spot on this. She captures and you know, and I think it's a great song with its, you know, allusions to Martha and the Vandellas and stuff throughout it. Summer's here and the time is right for racing in the streets. You know that, right? Right, the Martha and Vandellas song.
Oh, right,
Dancing in the Streets. Yeah.
I think that you know, on this song, the interesting thing is that there's a great saxophone solo on this song.
Oh yeah.
And that saxophone is played by one of the band members, of course, called Wayne Goodwin.
Mm-hmm.
And Wayne Goodwin, he was also the one who played the mandolin and the fiddle on this album. So he would switch between, I mean, like 3 totally different instruments. He would opening, you know, with I'm Moving On with his fiddle, and on So Sad he would play the mandolin, and on this song he would do the saxophone. So I mean, like, it just goes to show that the band members of the band was very capable of playing whatever they wanted to play, you know. they're professionals.
Tell me if you guys agree. I feel like that by that last verse of the song, like Emmylou really gets swept up in the emotion of the song. Like she's really emoting by the end of the song. And you can tell, you can hear that catch in her voice that she's really feeling it.
Yeah. It's
powerful.
Powerful. Actually, it sounds like she's about to cry.
Yeah. And then I was about to cry listening to it.
that's what first attracted me to her as when I first saw her live. Just the kind of the edge of tears is constantly in that voice when she does these ballads. It just, I mean, there's really no one who can inhabit the emotion of a song as well as Emmylou, I think, when she's at her best.
That's very well said, Richard. It has a very, very strong feeling to it when she's singing those ballads. You can actually feel that she's feeling it.
Yeah.
Well, I feel like the album really hits a stride here, because right when you have the one punch of the Bruce Springsteen song, then she does a Neil Young, and it's just majestically and such an anthem. I just think her version of Long May You Run. I was actually driving up to my cousin who lives about 45 minutes north, just driving through the Florida highway, and this just hit hard the other day. I was really taken by the beginning of the side two of the album. What do you guys think of this version of Long May You? I just love it.
I think it's um, I think it's a great song. I like Long May You Run. I listened to the Neil Young version just to check it out because I do like Neil Young, and I think that you cannot compare those two songs, those two versions, because here it sounds like a country song, and Neil Young does not. So,
I don't know about that.
you think so? I totally feel they're two different songs when they're singing
I
it.
mean, actually prefer Emmylou's version to
Yeah.
Neil Young's version, and I'm a huge Neil Young fan.
Mhm.
In fact, I saw this is a song he first did with it's about his relationship with Stephen Stills, and he did it on that Stephen Stills Neil Young tour that he pulled out of after just a few shows. And I
Mm.
saw maybe what was one of the last of those shows of the Stills Young band at the Capitol Center in Largo, Maryland. But I always liked the song, but Emmylou's version, I think it really does blow Neil Young's away, and I love Neil Young, so I
Which
don't know.
album was it from for Neil?
It was on the Stills Young band
Okay, got it.
album that they put out, and they were kind of touring behind it when Neil just said, "Heading on down the road, Steve. See you later."
Is this the one that has the key change towards the end?
Hers does.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember whether he does a key change. I don't think so.
God, she just jumps right into that key
Might I
change.
have to listen to it for a while. So
Cool.
Uh,
All right. Well, then we move on. We'll sleep out the ashes in the morning. A song that was already, she already has a history with this song.
she was on GP, the
yeah,
first Graham Parsons album.
yeah, first his first solo album, and also they did a live version of it on their live album, that was recorded for radio. Emmy and the Fallen
Oh
Angels,
yeah.
great version there. But this version here is more updated, and she sings a duet with Barry Tashin on it.
Mm-hmm.
They're doing a duet here. They do a duet on the next song as well. But this was a hit for, let's see now, who were the ones who sang "Don't Let Me Cross Over"? Um, they were a duo in the 50s. They're sort of like discovered Dolly Parton as well.
Joyce Alsop wrote the song.
Yeah, but it was a hit for oh God, what's their name again? Yeah, anyway, it's a great version. I do tend to listen more to the Graham Parsons, Emmylou Harris version of it, but
Yeah.
this is a great version, and I'm glad that she did it here um, as a live version instead of doing it as a new studio version again. You know.
I see Jill Johnson and Ed Seegers. Is that who you're trying to think of?
No.
Nope. Okay, that must be a different
It
version.
was first recorded by Carl Butler and Pearl.
Carl and Pearl Butler recorded this song.
Okay.
In May of 1969, it came out. And the Parsons Harris version came out in January '73 on the GP album.
Yeah, they learned it from Carl and Pearl Butler, this song.
Yeah, it was the only version out there when they learned it.
Graham Parsons, he would play those records to Emmylou, there's George Jones and Charlie Louvin brothers and Carl Butler and God, I almost say Carl Buttplug, but it was not Butler. and uh, and they were big in the 50s. Carl was a great singer. Pearl, we can discuss this in another podcast. But the song, so
the song ended up where it needed to be, with who it needed to be with.
It ended up with the hot band, and it's like it should be.
Yeah. So then we move on to Juanita.
Another Graham Parsons song.
Yep, another Graham Parsons.
Parsons Hillman from the Burrito Brothers' Gilded Palace of Sin.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, yeah, it is. And next Graham Parsons song, and I don't know. So I remember this is the song. I like the song, but this is the song I listen least to on this album. I remember her doing it later on as a duet with Sheryl Crow on the Graham Parsons tribute album.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And then I got it. I was like, oh wow, now I hear it, I don't know what that was about, but it was kind of like I got the more feeling of the song when they did it more acoustically than they did it here. But this is a great live version as well, and this is a duet where Barry Tashian sings the lead and she's doing the harmonies.
Right. I thought that was kind of cool.
And an angel appeared. She was just 17.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, mama. Sweet mama.
Isn't this about drug abuse?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
All right, and then Graham Parsons sticks around for one more song, "Devil in Disguise," and I just feel like she kind of turns up the electricity on this one. I love her version.
Yes, and this song used to be called Christine's Tune.
Right. But then Christine died a horrible death, and they felt bad about it.
Oh,
Yeah, she was. I think she was David Crosby's girlfriend, and it was in this horrible accident, taking their critter to the vet.
Oh.
It just. I think it's Christine Hinton is who it's about. So so actually, even the Burrito Brothers said, "Okay, we're only going to call it Devil in Disguise from now on." After her horrible death.
So was it recorded under the original name?
Yes, on Gilded Palace of Sin, it's Christine's Tune.
Okay.
She was a devil, and then she died, and she couldn't call her that anymore.
Oh,
right.
Horrible.
So what do you guys think of
Emmylou?
Emmylou?
Number always shows up in your pocket whenever you're looking for a dime.
It's a great country rock number. But you know what it reminds me of? The intro when she opens up with her acoustic guitar there, it kind of reminds me of Born to Run.
Yeah, I thought the same thing.
Yeah, it's got that almost the same chord progression in a way.
Mm-hmm. So it's a fast number as well. I never seen her play it live. Great live number to play live. I mean, they will get it with a beer, and you're listening to this. It will be a lot of fun.
Yep.
The band is really tight to this song as well.
This band, that's the thing. Listening to this, the thing that truly impressed me, listening to it again after probably a number of years since I'd heard it, was how great this version of the Hot Band is. I mean, I always think of the Hot Band as, the early Hot Band, but man, these guys can really play.
Yep. They were still hot. They didn't become the warm band. They stayed hot.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
All right, so the next song, "Lost His Love on Our Last Date," a #1 country hit for Emmylou. The saxophone's back. What do you guys think of this one?
Originally, this song was an instrumental.
Yeah, Floyd Kramer.
Pianist, famous pianist.
Great pianist, Floyd Kramer.
Played on thousands of records by great artists like Jim Reeves, Patsy Cline, Hank Snow.
He had that kind of slip key style, right?
Yeah.
And then Conway Twitty was the one who did the lyrics.
Yeah. And it fits. You got to listen to this version. Skeeter Davis.
I've heard that. Yeah.
She made an answer to this song, same melodies, but it's like she made an album called The Answer. So it was like a lot of songs that were answers to country hits.
That's so cool.
It's so funny to listen to it, But
is it snarky a little bit? Is she a little snarky with her answers?
Yeah, on some of them she is, and Skeeter Davis, you know, she had a few big hits, and she was quite known in Nashville. I remember Dolly Parton said that, you know, everybody wanted to look like Dottie West, everybody wanted to sing like Patsy Cline, and nobody wanted to sing like Skeeter. So that's funny. But anyway, this song, Lost His Love on Our Last Date, was a hit by Emmylou, and I guess this song is as country as going to get on this album.
Yep.
This is a really, really good country ballad, and she sings it so well.
Yeah.
And the saxophone solo on this one as well, and the piano and everything here is tight. Everything is perfect.
Yeah, whenever you listen to the album, the saxophone just fit right in the pocket there. It was just perfect.
I mean, she just shows off here. She shows everybody that how this is how it's going to be done, and you cannot top it. So it's kind of like fuck off to everybody else. It's such a good song. Yeah.
She's like, I don't need your synthesizers to everybody else in 1982 and 83.
So,
and she says, I can even play lead guitar.
Yeah. So,
song that's kind of like, this country music isn't cool anymore, but hey, listen to this, you know?
Yeah, check this out. So, I always had the reissue of the album. So, the album had 2 bonus tracks. So, I always heard the album with the bonus tracks. But when I was listening on Spotify, it's the original release that ends with the next song. And it actually changed the album for me because sometimes hearing that proper ending puts everything in perspective in a way. So I feel like that's the danger of bonus tracks, is you lose the beginning and the end of an album. And hearing the last track, Buckaroo and Love's Gonna Live Here, as the closing track, as the last thing you hear, I was like, this is a great way to wrap things up. And it's interesting because you think about Emmylou's life. She was about to and her marriage was ending, and love was about to live there again for her, and she entered another marriage in a couple years. So I feel like this song kind of was a silver lining and a little positive thing for her to add at the end of the album. I don't know if she was feeling that at the time, but I did feel like the song kind of hit me because sometimes I'm like, I'm never gonna meet anybody, I'm never gonna love again. But I heard the song, I'm like, love's gonna live here again.
Well, I think it's a Buck Owens.
I mean, this is the it's this type of material that this album was made of. You know, it's the West Coast.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. This is that Bakersfield sound, that Buck Owens medley, and because they're both his signature songs. So they've been doing Buckaroo all the way back to the at least to the Parsons days, because that's on that fairly new Parsons live album, the double one that came out that you had to get through the whatever it was, the Kickstarter.
Yep, remember that's that? Right. Yep.
Yeah. So they did Buckaroo on that too.
Fun thing on this one is that the lead guitar player is Emmylou.
Right.
Yeah, that's what I said. Then she says, I can even play lead guitar.
Did she always play the lead guitar in the live version, or just for this tour? Does anybody know?
She plays it on this. I don't think she played it before doing this.
Not before doing this. This guitar, she had this guitar, this Telecaster that was given to her by James Burton, a pink one, you know, and she had it for years. And so she had one of the guys in the band teach her the licks. For this, and she played it once on this tour, and that's the one you hear it. It was recorded, that one, and she nailed it one time, and she just like pulled out this guitar and she played the solo, played the heck of it. Interesting thing is that this is the number they used to open the show with. So there would be like a medley, you know, or like an instrumental, and then she would like show up and started sing, you know.
So she wouldn't even be on stage during Buckaroo, and she'd come in for Love's Gonna Live Here?
Yes, but she pulled the guitar back again and started playing it live, solo, during her Ballad of Sally Rose tour.
Oh.
She was back at it with her pink guitars, you know, playing the solos. So, and this just goes to show that Emmylou Harris is a real good guitar player.
Oh, yeah.
Don't fuck with her. She's playing whatever she wants to do. And she can pick whatever she wants to do. She plays bazooka and she plays different instruments. She plays piano as well, you know.
I love the medley. I think the two songs just segue into each other so perfectly. It's such a great way to wrap up this classic collection of songs. I think it's perfect.
Yeah, and you know, Emily, she was a big, she had she was a big Buck Owens fan. You know, she recorded Together Again. She did a duet with him on Play Together Again, and she would record with him again on a duet called Crying Time later. You know, so Emmylou, she was a big country music fans of the old, Buck Owens, George Jones, Merle Haggard, those guys that kind of came around at the same time. Great songs, and I think this is a great song to end the album with.
Yeah.
It
Now,
is.
there were two bonus tracks, Another Pot of Tea and Maybe Tonight. Tadia, you did mention that they were from different sessions. Do you know where those exactly came from?
Yes, I think Another Pot of Tea was a B-side of one of the songs.
Okay.
Maybe Tonight is from White Shoes.
Okay.
Session. Yeah, it was cut for the White Shoes album. One of the outtakes. But she did.
But they're not live, right? The bonus
No.
cuts are not.
No, they're not live. They're not live. But she did release a couple of other live songs from this album that was released on the reissue of A Little Tell. I think it is on the New Cut Road, Guy Clark song.
Okay.
That is from Last Date, or for the Real to Real tour. Was called this tour here. And then she did the La Cassine special, the French song that she would later release a studio version on 13 in '86. So there are a couple more, for interest, information, that there are two more tracks existing out there that actually is from this tour.
What do you think are the chances that we'll get the other Emmylou songs that were recorded for the album?
So Brian Ahern, he has the material, because remember, they recorded the whole tour here.
Right.
And I think if it was up to her, she would have released it. It just depends on, because Warner Brothers didn't re-release this. She had the new record label, Eminent, to release it. But even if they didn't physically release it, I'm sure hoping that they could kind of digitally release it at least.
Make it a disc 2 on the digital.
Mm-hmm. But I'm going to ask Emmylou about that next time when I see her, ask her and say, please, can you release it? We need it.
Yeah.
We need to hear everything you have done. But I mean, this could have easily have been a double LP. It would be great if it was a double LP.
I feel like the only person that's ever done anything close to that I know of is in '99, Tori Amos did an album, To Venus and Back, and disc 1 was all new material. It was studio, and then disc 2 were live versions of the hits and kind of old material. So I feel, and that works. So give us the 2-disc version, Emmylou. I'd love to hear it.
Oh man, I mean, if she could have released, I think, as an artist, Emmylou Harris is an artist that she calls herself a road dog. She has been touring since the day she released her first album, and she has also been recording live shows everywhere. So, I mean, she probably has a huge catalog of unreleased live material from different periods of her career. And I hope that they're just going to release more and more of the live material, because even if she's not releasing more studio albums, I hope that they will dig out some live albums, and she has played a lot of live songs that she didn't put on studio albums as well. So there must be a lot of stuff out there. But I hope that the one day we'll pull out, one great live album from the original Hot Band as well, from '75. This Burton was there. But this album for me is a very special album, because the way that I found it and the way that I discovered it, and still one of my favorite. And the sound is great on this reissue of the CD. The LP doesn't come close to the reissue. That's great. Yeah.
I'm definitely going to have to seek that one out, because I love listening to the LP.
Yeah. And I just feel like on the best of Emmylou's albums, all these songs that on paper don't seem like they would work together, all just hang together so well on this collection. And I know we already said this, but I just don't think it would have worked as a studio album. It was just such a great choice for her to make this live album, and kind of reclaim country and the honky tonk and do this in 1982 when pop culture was getting more and more artificial. I mean, think of it, Richard. This is the year Wild Things Run Fast came out.
That's right.
And talk about two polar opposites here.
Actually,
Yeah.
I'm rather fond of Wild Things Run Fast.
Are you?
For all of its '80s production, there's a lot of nice moments on it.
And I think that, this is Emmylou Harris and the Hot Band, and this LP/CD really live up to its name. It is a hot band.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, Last Date, for anyone who haven't dived into Emmylou Harris's catalog and you want to hear why she was called the Queen of Country Music, put this on and listen to her live versions of those country rock numbers here, and you will get it. If you listen to Wrecking Ball and you think that's all it is, listen to this.
But interestingly enough, like Neil Young would show up with signature songs on a lot of her masterpiece albums because he would come back for Wrecking Ball with a great song. Yeah. And I just remember in the 2000s I had a backing band. I called them the Cold Band in honor of the Hot Band.
Oh, did you?
Yep, that's my little tribute to Emmylou. So, what do we rank Last Date? Scale of 1 to 10. Where do you guys put this on the Phonogenics scale here?
This is a 10.
I'll give it a 10.
I got to give it a 10. I think it's essential listening from Emmylou.
Yeah, and it's great to. I just like it so much because of the newer version of the Hot Band on it, which is. I mean, we heard of them on a few things on Cimarron.
Yeah.
But they're really rock on this one.
All right. Well, things are about to get interesting next month as we get into 1983, the last album with Brian Ahern. Kind of the end of an era, a transitional time for Emmylou. So I look forward to that discussion with you guys. White Shoes is next.
Yeah.
And any parting thoughts? I'm going to upload this afternoon so we can get it out there. And I always look forward to our Emmylou discussions together.
Me too. I think it's great, and see that we get a positive response from other fans that likes to discuss Emmylou's music as well and listen to. We have to remember that Emmylou Harris is an artist that a lot of people are still discovering.
Right.
Because she's still around, and she's been around for a while, but there are like new fans coming together all the time. And her album Wrecking Ball just got recognized now. And she's been doing Wrecking Ball show and Wrecking Ball interviews and stuff. And they talked about doing a sequence to it, So it's a lot of things going on right now. And I think that, since the Country Music Hall of Fame is shining light on her material now, a lot of people are discussing and discovering Emmylou Harris.
And I
think she's coming to Georgia in like maybe August or September. I don't think tickets have gone on sale yet, but I'm going to try to go wherever it is and see her one more time at least.
It'd be cool if we could all go to a concert together one day. The panel.
Well, let's work that out and let's do that.
Yeah. And another thing is, for someone that's just discovering Emmylou, I think it's nice as they discover the albums to have these podcasts to listen to as a kind of a companion piece to get some behind the scenes on the album. So I think it's cool that we're doing these.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm enjoying it.
Surprised that nobody has done it before. So that was a great idea to shine a light on her albums, not only like her career. Just because Emmylou Harris' music, her albums are different from album to album, and she has a long career. So there is a lot of different material out there. I guess that there are people. I'm sure that there are people that likes her music that love this album but cannot stand that album.
Right?
Well, maybe not that harsh, but I mean. Her albums are so different. You listen to Roses in the Snow, you go bluegrass. You go to Wrecking Ball, and you go almost like pop. And you go to Blue Kentucky Girl, and it's as country as gonna get. And then suddenly she has a gospel album out with Angel Band. She's everywhere, but it's still kind of like it's Emmylou Harris.
And I do think there's, people have looked at her 70s albums more, but I think it's cool that we're really looking at these 80s albums that sometimes get forgotten, that were hits at the time, that I really feel like need to get a spotlight shined back on them. This album and Cimarron are both great, great, great albums that stand right up to the best of her material, in my opinion.
Hmm. It is, and I think that a lot of her albums had been, the albums in the 70s was at least her five first albums in the 70s were so big hits that they were available for all time. They could be
Right.
found everywhere. The 80s, the LPs were starting to go away, and the cassette was starting to go away more and more, and so we had the CDs, and a lot of the albums were not re-released on CDs
Right.
until
Way
later,
later.
so they weren't available. So that sadly happened to a lot of her 80s catalog. They weren't there, for everybody to listen to. But her 70s albums were widely available for everybody. So I guess that they got more attention.
Was White
But I
Shoes
feel like
ever on CD? Was White Shoes ever
Yeah.
on CD?
I have
Oh,
the
it was?
CD.
Okay.
yes.
Mine's an
And
import, though. It was an import.
it was, and then you have later, Light of the Stable was not available. It was available in China only. You had Cimarron was only available in Australia. You had Ballad of Sally Rose was released on CD. Then they skipped CD release for 13, and was taking off after a few months. So there are like things going on here that kind of like didn't make her music available. But I think that her music in the 80s is as good, it's not even not
Yeah,
better.
that's a shame as an artist to have your music not being made available.
Right.
Yeah.
But luckily now everything is on digital platforms, and I guess that everything she has recorded now is released on CDs except. Yeah.
All right, my friends. Well, I will see you in July, and we'll discuss White Shoes, and I will get this posted today. Have a great day, everybody, and thank you for your time and heart, and thank you, Emmylou Harris. All right,
Thanks.
bye, everybody.
Bye.